I was informed of this article from Atlanta Black Star from Ashton Lewis, and shout out to him, by the way. And when he left the caption saying, like, did I see this or are we not surprised? I said, I'm not surprised. I'm actually more shocked that the article did not come out a whole lot sooner than what it did. So if you don't know what you're looking at on your screen, this is a picture of a poster from the show Watchmen. It's actually one of their most popular posters. And of course, that is Regina King right there on the front, on the cover of it, because she's like the lead character for the show, based off of the graphic novel and of course of the movie under the same name. And the show is 2 episodes in, and I have been thoroughly enjoying the show as of recent. I can't say as of late because it's a brand new show and it's just in the beginning of the first season. And when I tell you they have literally hit you heavy with the topics or the discussion or creating a dialogue, they are not holding back. So in case y'all don't know, the first episode of Watchmen, it opens up with the Tulsa, Oklahoma Black Wall Street bombings terrorist attack. That's what I'm gonna call it, terrorist attack. And I think that's one of the first times that has ever been depicted on screen, whether on the small screen or the big screen, that wasn't in a documentary format. And I think that caught a lot of people by surprise, myself included, especially with how it opened up and what it led to. But of course, when it comes to something like this and touching on touchy subjects, you're going to have the usual suspects come out in droves and say how much they don't like the series, that they hate it because of what it's talking about. And y'all already know who the usual suspects are. I'm going to go ahead and read this article and see what else they have to say. It says a lot of people who say they're original fans of the comic book series Watchmen don't like HBO's version, which stars Regina King, because it's dealt with race and white supremacy so far. There's also a huge discrepancy between many of the professional critic reviews on websites and what fans have to say about the show. The original Watchmen story was crafted by Alan Moore, Dave Gibbons, and John Higgins in the 1980s for a limited DC Comics series. The HBO show takes place in modern-day Tulsa, Oklahoma, three decades after the original story, and King's character, Detective Angela Abar, goes after a white supremacist gang called the 7th Cavalry. The storyline also takes place a century after the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, a real-life event that occurred May 31st to June 1st of that year. At that time, white mobs attacked the home and businesses of affluent black district in Tulsa Greenwood, otherwise known as Black Wall Street. Now, before I go any further, what I thought was also interesting about this is that the people, that palm-colored people who did watch this, many of them did not know about Black Wall Street. And I saw people, I was looking at people who did reviews of the first episode who were white, and many of them did say they didn't even know that this actually existed. This proves more than a shadow of a doubt that this particular story has never and probably will never, ever be taught in schools. And they're probably upset that this was put on screen. Because now that it was shown, people actually went and did their research and was like, oh, this really did happen. It wasn't fiction. It wasn't made up. Yes, this was an actual event that actually did occur. And even though they showed on screen on that first episode in that opening sequence, that was not even all of it right there. That was just a taste, a little tease of what occurred that day. It would take literally a whole production to describe what happened that day if they would have put it in a movie format. It would have to be probably as long as the damn Titanic movie to tell that story. And I'm talking about from its beginnings, what was going on leading up to the actual bombing itself. And then, of course, leading up to today. Aside from the 35 city blocks as well as 600 black businesses and hospitals being destroyed by fire, the attack killed about 300 people, with 90% of them being black folks. As for the HBO series, the critic score on Rotten Tomatoes is at 98%, but it's only 43 on the audience reviews, and on Metacritic, a similar review site, the scores from critics are at 85 and the user score is 6.1. Besides white supremacy being addressed in the series, there's also a scene where character gets some racist treatment from a child at her son's school on career day, and all of that was just too much for some viewers. Show is boring and trite. They tried to turn a great comic into a woke left fantasy, wrote someone on Metacritic. Did they really have to choose the Watchmen franchise to make another modern propaganda piece? Another person asks. This show has nothing to do with the original comic or movie. The original was not about race or gender. This is just another propaganda TV show. They turned Watchmen into another non-sensual story about genders and racism that has nothing to do with an original comics. A third person commented, just another piece that tries to bait reviewers and drive wedge into the society. Woke garbage that wine aunts and affluent liberals will pleasure themselves to, another person stated. You want to know what's so crazy? Some of them same people that's leaving those comments like that were the same ones who got mad as hell when Brie Larson made their comment about white men earlier this year. If y'all remember earlier this year, I made a video about some comments Brie Larson, who plays Captain Marvel, around the time she was promoting that movie, about white men in particular, and they got so up in arms that they literally dragged her ass for months because of it. I'm talking about for months. I wouldn't be surprised if they still talk about her in that comment to this day. But what got me was that you had some non-white men, particularly black men, actually getting upset with her saying, and I'm like, she was directing it at them. It had nothing to do with you. That's what made me side eye the situation. I'm like, now you're throwing your hat in the ring behind it. Like, that kind of caught me off guard. I said, let them deal with that. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing I did was made a video addressing it, and I just sat back and let the sparks fly. Little did I know it was going to be more than sparks flying due to that comment she made. Would I say that was a smart thing to do? No, especially since she had a movie to promote at that time. Was it funny to see the outcome? Hell yes, it was. And see, this show, especially in that first episode, was firing off on all cylinders in so many directions. And I was listening to a stream that Thought Crimes had did, and they made a good point. HBO, they messed up by hosting that so-called Leaving Neverland fraudumentary back in March, and they had to figure out a way to get back on black people's good side before we lost all interest. And then when you couple in the fact that some black people did watch Game of Thrones, and that last season was terrible, which, by the way, the two creators of it, I found out, are not working on Star Wars, the new Star Wars trilogy anymore, which is the reason they rushed the last season, now knowing that they didn't have to rush it, and we could have got a good quality of a final season for one of the HBO's biggest shows. But anyway, HBO had to figure out a way to do damage control, and I have a feeling that this plays right into it, unless this was already the writing treatment for it. Now, I don't know. They could have still been filming the show even back in March, when that whole Leaving Neverland thing was occurring. But the fact of the matter is, you have palm-colored people in particular, mainly, that are upset about this. They will continue to be upset. But see, the fact that they're still talking about it and they're giving it press, even though for them it would be bad press, it's still going to garner views. It's still going to garner eyes. Like, if they don't want to watch it, fine. They don't have to watch it, and all types of things. And one thing when it comes to that palm-colored troll, when they have their eyes set on something to troll, they are going to stick with it until the end. Take it from me. From someone who ended up on 4chan. I know I talk about this a lot, but take it from me. When one of my subscribers told me back in February of this year, they said, Torian, you know that you're on 4chan. I'm like, how in the hell did I get up on 4chan? They had my picture up there, and one person pretty much spilled the beans and said, I gotten rid of this person 2 times. I'm trying to get rid of them now, but for some reason YouTube is acting funny and they're not taking this channel down, and blah, 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 blah. I literally recorded a video talking about that, but I never uploaded it. Looking back at it now, I wish I had. But, those of you who were there can take my word for it and know exactly what happened. I haven't seen that post since, because I've gone back and I don't see it anymore. But that was a while back. At this point, I pretty much forgot about it. But the fact of the matter is, they literally went on a campaign, a flagging campaign on that site against me because of the stuff that I was putting out there. and putting their business out there. They hate when you call them to the carpet, but they feel they have free reign to say all kinds of shit about you. And if you dare push back against it, then you're in the wrong. Fuck that. We are going to be playing this tit for tat game for years, unfortunately. Only one of us is going to come out on top. But yeah, it's silly at the end of the day. They're going to talk about it. They're going to run this into the ground. They're going to say, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. Like I said, if we as black people, as melanated people don't like something, we'll say we don't like it and we'll move on to the next thing and move on to something we do like. With them, they will say something or don't like something and they will stay on it, and you will rarely ever hear what it is that they do like. They will constantly complain and nitpick about every little thing. And you know what's so crazy? Remember I said in the beginning of the video, I'm surprised this article didn't come out sooner. I knew they were going to say something like this just on the first episode alone. They don't like when their sordid history, their dark past comes to the forefront in the form of an entertainment spectrum that they love. Why do you think they hated Colin Kaepernick so much when he was kneeling during the national anthem? Because that was infringing on their little moment. A moment many of them never really indulged in until after he decided to do what he did. But hey, it is what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.